Hello students. So today we will start our discussion on the topic the CPU and its component. So in this lesson we will study about the three components of the CPU, that is the memory unit, arithmetic and logic unit, and control unit. So see the CPU and its components, the three components we will study here. As we know, all the types of computers follow some of the basic logical structure and perform the five basic operations. Every computer, means every CPU, performs the five basic operations for converting the input data into the information. So all the CPU means all the computers. CPU means your computer only. So all the computer take the input. They are taking the input with the help of the input devices. So the process of entering data and instructions into the computer system is called the input. Now they store the data. Store the data means they save the data instructions so that they are available for processing when required. So CPU takes the input and store the data. They process the data, means perform the arithmetic and logical operations on data in order to convert them into useful information. Okay. Next, you can see after that they process the data by performing the arithmetic and logical operation and convert the data input into the useful information. Next, the output. The output the information. So the process of producing the useful information or results for the user as a printed report or visual display on the screen, that is the video unit. So after processing the data, converting to the useful information, CPU helps to take its printout or also display the information on the screen. Next, the control the workflow. So CPU also directs the manner and sequence in which all the above operations are performed. So sequentially, it directs that how the instructions will be executed in the CPU. Now here you can see this is the CPU, and CPU has three components: memory unit, control unit, and the arithmetic and logic unit. So this control unit takes the input, and after that it takes a decision which type of operation is to perform on that input data, and according to that it transfers the data to the memory unit if it is for store, and if it is for the arithmetic and logical operations, so it transferred to the arithmetic and logic unit. And after getting the result, when the input will be processed, the information will be displayed on the output unit, maybe the printer or the screen. Okay, now you can see the input unit contains the input devices through which we enter the data into the computer. So this input units creates a link between the user and the computer. So with the help of the keyboard creates a link between us and the computer. The input devices translate the information into a form understandable by the computer. So all the input devices translate our instructions which we are writing, which we are clicking on the computer screen into the uh, uh, into the machine code, into the machine language which the computer understand, that is into the digital signals. Next is the central processing unit. CPU is called the brain of the computer, as we all know, and it performs all the types of data processing operations, stores data, intermediate results, instructions. Okay, now see the CPU has three components which we have studied: ALU, memory, and the control unit. Now the output unit. Output unit consists of the output devices with the help of which we get the information from the computer, and this unit is a link between the computer and the users. So all the output devices translate the computer's output into a understandable form by the users. So this CPU consists of the following features. What are the features of the CPU? You can see CPU is called the brain of the computer. CPU performs all types of data processing operations. CPU stores data, intermediate results, and instructions. CPU controls the operation of all parts of the computer. So all these things is managed by the CPU only. Now CPU has the three components. That three components we'll study in detail: memory unit, control unit, and the arithmetic and logic unit. As you can see, this is the diagram of that components of the CPU. Now first the memory or storage unit. So basically the memory unit of the computer is divided into two categories, that is the internal memory and the external memory. So memory unit is the principal storage of the computer. means where the data and instructions are stored. So this unit supplies the information to the other units of the computer when there is a requirement. So the memory unit supplies the information to the other units, maybe the arithmetic and logic unit for the calculation. So it provides the data. It is also known as the internal storage unit or the main memory, or also called the primary storage, and also called the RAM, random access memory. So its size affects the speed, power, and capability. So more big the size, so speed will decrease. Primary memory and secondary memory are two types of the memories in computers. So the functions of the memory unit. What are their functions? Why we use this memory unit? So memory unit stores all the data and the instructions required for processing. So second thing, it stores the intermediate results for of processing. So when the ALU process the input and calculate the results, so that results is stored in the memory only. That is the internal memory of the CPU, which is called the registers. That also we will study. And it stores the final results of the processing before the results are released to an output device. It stores the final result also before displaying on the output device. Where it stores the final results in the registers of the CPU. All inputs and outputs are transmitted to the main memory. So all the inputs and outputs are transmitted to the main memory, which is the RAM. So processor takes all the inputs from the RAM only. Control unit. This unit controls the operation of all parts of the computer but does not carry out any actual data processing operation. It controls all the operation but it does not do any actual data processing. So all the data processing done in the arithmetic and logical unit. Functions of this unit. It is responsible for controlling the transfer of data. Control unit control the transfer of data and instructions among the other units of a computer. Means between the ALU and between the memory unit. It manages and coordinates all the units of the computer. It obtains the instruction from the memory, interprets them, and directs the operation of the computer. Fourth function, it communicates with the input-output devices. Yes, control unit also communicate with the input and output devices for the transfer of data or results from the storage. It does not process or store data. So control unit does not do any processing work, and it also does not store any data also. Third unit is the arithmetic and logic unit. It consists of two subsections. ALU has two sections, two subsections. One is the arithmetic section, second is the logic section. So in the arithmetic section, what it does? Arithmetic section is to perform the arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So all complex operations are done by making the repetitive use of the above operations. You can see the logic sections. Function of logic section is to perform the logic operations as comparing, selecting, matching, and merging of the data. So it compares the data, it selects the data, it matches the data, and it merges the data also. Merging means combining of two files, combining of two data. So a memory is just like a human brain. Like we store the information in our brain, it is used to store the data and instruction. Computer memory is the storage space in the computer where data is to be processed, and instructions required for processing are stored. So all the instructions and all the data are stored in the computer memory. And this memory is divided into large number of small parts called cells. And each cell has a unique address in the computer which varies from 0 to memory size -1. Whatever the memory size, from that we decrease 1 because it starts from 0. The first address of the first memory cell is 0. For example, the computer has 64k words, means 64,000 words. And then this memory unit has 64 into 1024. That is 65,536 memory locations. And the address of these locations varies from 0 to 65,535 because total location was 64k, means kilobytes. And 1 kilobytes is equals to, you can see, 1024. So this 65,536 memory locations are there. So it will start from 0 to 65,535. This is the start address, this is the end address of the cell. Primary, these memories of three type: cache memory, primary memory or main memory, and secondary memory. Cache memory is the very high speed memory. very high speed semiconductor memory means it is made with the help of the semiconductors which can speed up the CPU. So to increase the processing time, to increase the work of the CPU, we use the cache memory because the speed of the CPU is very fast and the time taken to access the data from the RAM is more. So to decrease this time in between the CPU and the RAM, cache memory is installed. It acts as a buffer between the CPU and the main memory. Buffer means it stores the data. It stores the data from the RAM uh, before the demand of the processor, before the demand of the CPU. So whenever the demands come from the CPU, it hand over the data to the processor. It is used to hold those parts of the data and program which are most frequently used by the CPU. So which type of the data it holds, which is most frequently used by the CPU. So it prefetch the data, frequently used data from the RAM and keeps in the cache memory because it is between the RAM and the processor, means the cache memory is very close to the CPU. So the access time of the CPU, to cache memory is very less. So the parts of this, so this will increase the work of the CPU. The part of the data and programs are transferred from the disk to cache memory. So some parts of the data is also transferred from the disk. This means hard disk layer to the cache memory by the operating system. If suppose the data is not present in the RAM, so it will search in the hard disk and the operating system will transfer the data from the hard disk to the cache memory from where the CPU can access them. This is the CPU, you can see processor. Now the advantages. Here in the central core you can see this is the processor. Okay. Now see the advantages of the cache memory. What is the advantage of the cache memory? Cache memory is very faster than the main memory, means RAM. It consumes less access time as compared to the main memory. It stores the program that can be executed within a short period of time, and it stores the data for the temporary use. Okay, it does not store the data for the permanent. It is also volatile memory. So when you switch off the computer, every data stored in the cache memory will be lost. Disadvantage: cache memory has a limited capacity, size is very less, and it is very expensive. Next is the main memory, which is called the primary memory. So primary memory holds only those data and instructions on which the computer is currently working. So if any program you want to open, so first that program will be fetched from the hard disk to the RAM. So it has a limited capacity. RAM also has a limited capacity. The size of the RAM nowadays 8 GB or 16 GB only, but the size of the hard disk is 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte. So the data is lost when the power is switched off. This is also called the volatile memory. So when you switch off the computer, so the every data present in the main memory, means RAM, it will be lost. It is generally made up of semiconductor device. It is also made of semiconductor device. The memories are not as fast as registers. So registers are the memory present in the processor inside the CPU, means on the motherboard. So the fastest memory of the computer is the registers only. So all the intermediate results, or at the time of the calculation, ALU saved that results on the registers only. The data and the instructions required to be processed present in the main memory. It is divided into two subcategories. Main memory is of two types: RAM and ROM, random access memory, and the read-only memory. You can see this is the RAM. Okay. Now see the characteristics of the main memory. These are the semiconductor memories. This is also known as the main memory. This is a volatile memory. Data is lost when the power is switched off. Working memory of the computer faster than secondary memory, faster than the hard disk. Computer cannot run without the primary memory. You cannot run the computer. You cannot use the computer without the primary memory. Next is the secondary memory. You can see. So secondary memory is also known as the external memory or also called the non-volatile. So in this memory, the data are stored permanently. It is slower than the main memory. Here the information is stored permanently. CPU directly does not access these memories. So processor directly does not access the hard disk. They access with the help of the input-output routines, means calls. The contents of the secondary memory are first transferred to the main memory, and then the CPU can access it. External memories are CD, ROM, DVD, etc. Characteristics of the secondary memory. These are magnetic and optical memories. It is known as the backup memory. It is also known as the volatile memory, non-volatile memory. The data is permanently stored even if the power is switched off. It is used for the storage of data in a computer. Computer may run without the secondary memory, and it is slower than primary memory. Okay, now you see this RAM. RAM is the internal memory of the CPU for storing data, program, and program result. Program's results also is stored in the RAM. It is a read-write memory which stores the data until the machine is working. Till the CPU is on, till the computer is on, till the machine is working. So it will read and write on this RAM. As the machine is switched off, data will be erased. Okay, so the access time in the RAM is independent of the address. So whatever the address means, each location has the same access time. That is, each storage location inside the memory is easy to reach and other locations and take the same amount of time. So the data in the RAM can be accessed randomly, but it is very expensive. RAM is volatile. Data stored in it is lost when we switch off the computer or if there is a power failure. So hence a backup uninterruptible power system UPS is often used. For that purpose, we are using the UPS in the computer so that we get the time to save our data in the hard disk. Because while working, all the data is saved on the RAM only. All the data is present on the RAM only. But if there will be the sudden power failure, so all the things will be erased present in the RAM. So that's why UPS uninterruptible power system. It is the UPS is needed to give at least 1 or 2 minutes backup to save our data on the hard disk. It is of two type. RAM is of two types: static RAM and the dynamic RAM. Static indicates the memory remains its contents as long as the power is being supplied. As the power is prevented, as the power is cut, so all the thing will be erased. The data is lost when the power gets down due to the volatile nature. Static RAM chips use a matrix of 6 transistors and no capacitor. Here use of the transistors, so the pair of 6 transistors they are using. Transistors do not require power to prevent the leakage. So RAM need not be refreshed on a regular basis. So transistors do not require power to prevent the leakage. Here they do not need the power to prevent the leakage, to stop the leakage. When the power will not be there, every data will be leaked. So there is extra space in the matrix, hence SRAM uses more chips than DRAM for the same amount of the storage space, making the manufacturing cost higher. Means SRAM is costlier than the DRAM. SRAM is thus used as a cache memory. So SRAM we are using as a cache memory and has very fast access. Okay, so what is the characteristic? Means SRAM is used as a cache memory. Characteristics of the static RAM: long life, no need to refresh, faster, used as a cache memory, large size, expensive, high power consumption. Next is the dynamic RAM. Dynamic RAM is continuously refreshed in order to maintain the data. So this is done by placing the memory on a refresh circuit that rewrites the data several hundred times. Means in the same memory, after if interval, it will write the same content. Suppose in one cell, suppose the data is stored 2. So every time it will erase and write on that place 2 after a fixed interval. Like the Ghazni, after a few time it it forgets the things. So it writes the things on the card, and by reading that it remembers it stores again in their memory. Similarly here, DRAM is used for the most system memory as it is a chip and small. It is a cheap and small. It's less expensive. It is a system memory. All DRAMs are made up of memory cells which are composed of one capacitor and one transistor. So dynamic RAM is created with the help of the one capacitor and one transistor. Characteristics of dynamic RAM. SRAM is made only of transistors. It uses a group of 6 transistors. Short data lifetime, needs to be refreshed continuously, slower as compared to the SRAM used as RAM. and smaller in size. So our RAM is of DRAM only, and the cache is used as SRAM. Smaller in size, less expensive, less power consumption. ROM stands for read-only memory. The memory from which we can read only but cannot write on it, that is called the read-only memory. This is the non-volatile. The information is stored permanently in such memory during manufacture. At the time of manufacturing the ROM, the data are saved in the ROM. ROM stores instructions that are required to start a computer. So that is called the bootstrap. So the program of the bootstraps are stored on the ROM. ROM chips are not only used in the computer but also in other electronic items like the washing machine and microwave oven. It is called the microcontrollers, in that it is used. So this is the ROM, read-only memory. You can see. So these ROMs are also many types. You can see types of ROMs. How many types of ROMs are there? PROM, EROM, double EEPROM, flash memory, and the mask ROM. Many types of the ROMs are there. So first is the mask ROM. So the very first ROMs were hardwired devices that contained a pre-programmed set of data or instructions. This kind of ROMs are known as mask ROMs, which are inexpensive. PROM, programmable read-only memory. That is the it is read-only memory and can be modified only once. It can be modified only once by user. So the user buys a blank PROM and enters the desired contents using a PROM program. And inside the PROM chip, there are small fuses which are burned open during programming. It can be programmed only once and it is not erasable. So one time you can write the program and after that you cannot use it. EEPROM is the erasable and programmable read-only memory. You can rewrite on the EEPROM. So EEPROM can be erased by exposing it to the ultraviolet light for a duration up to 40 minutes. So 40 minutes we put this EEPROM in the exposure of the UV lights. So the content will be erased. EEPROM erase that achieves these functions. During programming, electrical charge is tapped in an insulated gate region. The charge is retained for more than 10 years. So in the EEPROM, the charge will retain for the more than 10 years means your data can be saved for more than 10 years because charge has no leakage path. For erasing this charge, that's why the computer understands only the language of the electrical. Now here the charge is stored in the transistors. For erasing this charge, ultraviolet light is passed through a quartz crystal window lid, and this exposure to ultraviolet light dissipates the charge during the normal use. Double EEPROM, electrically erasable and programmable read-only memory. Here the method for erasing the content is used electric, and in the EEPROM ultraviolet light. So this is programmed and erased electrically. It can be erased and reprogrammed about 10,000 times. Both erasing and programming take about 4 to 10 milliseconds. There it is taking 40 minutes. Here it will take 4 to 10 milliseconds only. Okay. Now what are the advantages of ROM? Non-volatile in nature, cannot be accidentally changed, cheap than RAMs, easy to test, more reliable than RAMs, static and does not require refreshing, contents are always known and can be verified. Okay, so this is all for the today students. In the next class we will continue our discussion and we'll discuss about the motherboard. Okay, so this is all for today. Thank you for your kind attention.